Hello everybody, and welcome to another IAPC&M CPD and Business Building webinar. I'm Dawn Campbell, your host, and today I'm joined by the lovely Emma Louise Elsey. Hello, Emma.
Hi, Dawn.
Emma is a successful British writer, coach, and entrepreneur living in Canada. Actually, she's recovering from knee surgery at the moment, so if she wiggles around and needs to stretch, you now know why. She is the founder of the Coaching Tools Company and has over 100 useful, effective coaching tools, forms, templates, exercises that we as coaches can put into our coaching sessions to make them more fun and lively with our clients and get better results. Like a lot of overnight sensations, it's been a long journey. And so I invited Emma to share her story of creativity, diversification, and success to reassure you that actually nobody tends to have an overnight success. You've got to have patience. So we're going to be inspired not to give up on our dreams. And that's a tall order, isn't it, Emma? No pressure. We're going to hand over to Emma and hear her story. Enjoy.
Thank you, Dawn. So everyone can hear me. And if you can hear me, can you type hello in the chat box? Let's get everyone using the chat box. Hello, Caroline. We got Anna. Ruby, hi, Ruby. And Ruby is a writer for the Coaching Tools Company. So if you're a fan of Ruby, we have a lot of her articles at the Coaching Tools Company. And hi, Claire. Okay, so I just wanted to say first that there's so much going on in the world at the moment with COVID and the continuing issues around racial justice, and the erasure of democracy in some parts of the world. I mean, there's some really big, important stuff going on right now. And I'm so glad that I get to speak to you all, even through COVID, because I think we need support and connection more than ever right now. So thank you so much for having me today and for being here today. And also just a little note, this webinar was created and booked in before the COVID crisis hit. And some of the strategies that I suggest are not necessarily possible at the moment, like meeting in person. Obviously, that's going to have to wait. And there are still many things we can do in the meantime to organize and grow our coaching businesses and skills. So let's get started. I know Dawn mentioned my fidgeting, so if I'm kind of shifting around, that'll be just because I'm getting comfortable, but I am very happy to be here. Okay, when I first came across life coaching, it was 2003. And I had no idea that I would move halfway around the world, live in a cottage on a small island with 5 acres, or that I would run an online business from home. That is the power of coaching and living your best life. I've been in Canada now for 16 years, and I am truly grateful to live a life I love. So, what does it take to really grow a successful coaching business? I created this presentation to wrap up 3 years as co-leader of a life coaching community of practice. I wanted to leave people with what I'd learned over the last 16 years of building 3 different life coaching businesses. And I really hope you enjoy it. So there are going to be 3 parts. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about why building a coaching business is so hard. Then I'm going to talk about the hero's journey, which is something that each and every one of us is on in our coaching business. And I'm also going to share some of my story, as Dawn mentioned, the diversification that's happened, and the journey that I've been on to get where I am today. And the idea behind this is to show that there are many different directions you can take your coaching business in. And then thirdly, I'm going to share the 10 lessons I've identified as necessary to grow a successful coaching business. And I do hope that while I share some hard truths today, that also, as Dawn mentioned, I hope it's also inspiring and motivating. That's my plan. And if you have any questions, please do stay at the end for any questions you may have. And if you have any thoughts or comments, I will be asking you as we go through, but please do share them in the chat box. And I just noticed we got lots of people joining from France and Edinburgh and West Africa. That's lovely. I wish I could say it was sunny here, but it's actually overcast, and we have issues with wildfire smoke coming up from Washington in the US and Oregon. So that's why it may look a little dark. Okay, so how many of you, when you were starting out, thought that this was what your coaching business would look like? And then if we hit to the next slide, but this is how your days really feel. So I would love if you would type into the chat box if you agree. So just type yes into the chat box if this is how your days really feel a lot of the time. Aha, sometimes for sure. Okay, yep. I notice the people that are saying sometimes are more established coaches. So certainly in the beginning, there are the yeses that where it just feels like one battle after another. So I think when we started out on our journey as coaches, I don't think any of us realized quite what we were getting into. And by that, I mean, we didn't really understand that being a coach also means being an entrepreneur and all that's involved in running your own business. So I created this organization chart to help you literally see what I mean. I'm going to put a little, I love this little laser pointer. So you are not only the CEO, you're also in charge of operations, you're in charge of technology, we've got finances over here, you're also the life coach, so you're doing the one-on-one coaching, you're developing new products and services, you've got all your own admin to do, you've got email, phone, calendar meetings, professional development, and much more. Here's your mail marketing. So you're not only in charge of this vision and direction piece, which comes from being the CEO, you're also in charge of all the managing and all the doing as well. And look down here, this is social media. It always amazes me how much time people spend and how much focus people give to social media when it is just one small part of everything you need to do to grow a coaching business. So I created this slide to show that there really is no way we could have understood what it actually means to run our own business. We weren't prepared for the sheer number of responsibilities and activities, and our coaching schools definitely couldn't have prepared us. And also, I don't think there's any way around all of this work that needs to be done. We can maybe delegate some of the financial parts, but most of it we need to do ourselves, at least in the beginning, until we understand it enough to delegate it. So it's no wonder that running your own business is stressful, and it's no wonder that we always feel so overwhelmed. So if it feels hard to get your coaching business off the ground, that's because it is. It's not your imagination and it's not you. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to learn. And even if you have a business background, which I did, I still found it incredibly hard. So I'm just going to pause for a moment. And someone's asking, what is JV? Sorry, joint ventures, where you team up with someone to create a product or offer an event or a service. So I'm just wondering if you could share any thoughts or comments so far in the chat box. Mostly people are a little surprised when they see that org chart and they suddenly kind of like have this sort of head slap moment of like, oh, of course, that's why I'm feeling so overwhelmed. Yeah, it sure is overwhelming to see all these roles. So this is what we're all dealing with every day. We're trying to do everything in 35, 40, 50, 60, 70-hour week. Even then, it's a lot. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just starting. So this is reassuring and why I feel a bit overwhelmed. Okay. So before I tell my story, I'd love to just introduce the hero's journey briefly. The hero's journey is a universal pattern that human lives often follow. It was popularized by Joseph Campbell in the 1980s. And you'll see this pattern in many of the movies we love. And the original Star Wars movie, if there's any Star Wars fans out there, is a great example. And I believe Joseph Campbell actually consulted on that movie. So the hero here, this is you, the hero, has something to achieve and has to go on a journey of some kind. Now, on this journey, they struggle to find their true selves. They have to make mistakes and learn from them. They find mentors and allies. And at some point, they usually get deceived, sometimes more than once, where they trusted the wrong person. And they have to learn this grown-up skill of discernment. There are usually many trials and tribulations, but there's usually a turning point where they almost give up. But of course, they don't. And eventually what happens is this hero returns from his journey to his life with a treasure or elixir. So it's really about having a goal, which could be growing a coaching business, finding that power inside of yourself and using that to overcome the external challenges and the internal challenges to achieve your goal. And as mentioned, there's often some kind of dark night of the soul where we almost give up, where we doubt everything. But by the end, we have this wonderful treasure or elixir, which is what you bring back to the world to share. And perhaps this sounds familiar. So as I share the story of growing my coaching business and the different directions that took, I hope you'll see this story playing out. But I also hope that you'll think about where you might be on your coaching journey so far. Okay, so my story is that I have a background in technology, project, and relationship management. I actually graduated in '94, so it's a while ago, with a degree in business and IT. And I think that's really helped me actually build an online business. When I discovered coaching in early 2003, I was unhappy in my job, and I've been looking for a new career for about 18 months. I came across life coaching, and that's another small story, which we're not going to get into here. But I came across life coaching, retrained as a life coach, and I left a successful, well-paying job, moved to Canada, and launched my coaching business, which was called Simplicity Life Coaching, when you could still get a half-decent URL and business name that no one else had grabbed. So Simplicity Life Coaching, that was in early 2005. And I struggled a lot. I thought it would be easy to run a coaching business. I mean, I'd run projects for a big bank, NatWest, actually, I can say that. You all know who NatWest is if you're from England anyway. And I'd run projects with $1 million annual budgets, and I'd matrix managed upwards of 40 people. So how hard could it be to run a coaching business? However, despite this business and project management background, I struggled to get clients and grow my business. And over time, as I tried to get to grips with running my business, my confidence, I mean, it literally withered. I felt overwhelmed, disappointed, embarrassed, and confused. Working for myself was supposed to be wonderful. I get to be my own boss. I'm helping people. So why am I unhappy? And I worked hard, so very hard to grow my business. I made a lot of mistakes. And it's possibly the most humbling thing I have ever experienced. Over the last 16 years, I've learned more about running a business than I would have thought possible. And actually, I struggled with all the same things that I see coaches struggling with today. Things like branding, building a website and deciding what goes on there, how to price my services, where to market myself, learning to run workshops and public speaking, how to confidently ask someone to sign up with me as a client, figuring out my niche, finding clients, and learning to navigate the world of social media. Those were just a few of the challenges. And what happened was I began to suffer from anxiety. And this worsened over time. And in the beginning, I didn't even really know what it was. It just felt like this feeling of dread in the pit of my stomach. And then just as my life coaching business was beginning to take off, I knew who my target market were and I'd got the hang of getting clients. And this is about 3 years in. My husband and I decided to take living our values one step further. So we bought a small cottage on 5 acres and moved to a small rural island. And this is what precipitated coaching career number 2, because I knew my ideal clients were not living on Salt Spring. This is the name of the island I live on. So it was women in technology, law, and finance. And there's no big business here. So after some encouragement from fellow coaches, I decided to start an online business selling all the coaching forms and tools that I'd created over the last few years. So now I became an online entrepreneur. And of course, here's the pattern. I thought it would be easy to sell online. But of course, the more I learned, the more I realized there was to learn. Still, things like creating a website, but this time I had to create a website that was super easy to use. I created a blog and a newsletter, finding and managing guest authors, search engine optimization, SEO, which some of you might get into at some point. This is about how you get people to your website and get Google to show you in the search rankings. So much more. I worked long hours and I got more and more anxious. And then if we add to that, about 3 years into our move, I got very sick and I was in hospital for about a week after emergency surgery, and I had a large cyst removed and a few other things. And after this health incident, I almost gave up. In fact, I remember interviewing a friend who worked on the local ferries to see if I could get a job there and just make life a lot easier and simpler. Somehow I kept going. And then when a family emergency hit 2 years later, my husband moved back to England for 18 months, and I had to support him and myself. So suddenly we had 2 households. Now, in the beginning, Duncan had supported me financially. And I don't know how, when we start a new business, we need to make sure we've got those financial supports in place. So in the beginning in Vancouver, when I had my Simplicity Life coaching, Duncan had a job and was supporting me. But when we moved to Salt Spring Island, we downsized and Duncan had quit his job. So what I found was that having these 2 households to support was not only really scary, but it also made me get super focused. And that's when the Coaching Tools company really took off. And I've already mentioned the anxiety. So just to go back in time a little bit, in 2009, just after we moved to Salt Spring Island, I found a great counselor and I began working on myself in a new way. And very slowly, the anxiety began to improve. What I learned was that I had a super abusive inner critic that was kind of covering up for this very frightened part of me that had learned to survive by being in control. I used to yell at myself internally. It was a way to make sure that I worked hard, that I got everything done, that I didn't make any mistakes, that everything was perfect, that I didn't upset anyone. And this was really what my anxiety was, but I was so out of touch with my feelings that I had no idea that this was what was actually going on. So I had to learn a brand new way of being with myself. And that was to be fiercely kind. Not just kind, kindness wasn't enough. I had to be this super strong kindness that would overcome this yelling self that I developed inside to stay like a good person and to achieve what I needed to get done. So this is coaching career number 3. And I have a new website called Fierce Kindness, which is a practical self-help website which is grounded in courage and kindness. So here's a little summary here. So this was intended to share an example of how a coaching career can evolve. So you'll see here, Simplicity Life Coaching was where I started up. And then Coaching Tools Company here was number 2. When I was doing coaching for Simplicity Life Coach, I was helping professional women in technology, law, and finance. And it was my experience in technology, as well as law and accounting through family members, that helped me choose who to serve. And it was my love of systems from my project management days that led me to create all the forms and tools. Then when we moved to the small island and my usual clients were not available, I had to learn how to run an online business. But then here's my anxiety, which kind of permeated my whole experience here. This came from running a coaching business and bottling up feelings. But I also, during this time, I was journaling like crazy. I was counseling. I was doing self-work. And now we have coaching career number 3, Fierce Kindness, which is where I share my hard-won knowledge. This is my elixir about the importance of connection and feelings, and specifically being more kind and courageous in our lives. So everything that has happened in my life so far has led to Fierce Kindness. And I hope that this will be my legacy that I leave with the world. It's still early days though. So the reason I shared my story and the hero's journey is so that I can ask you this question. What if every day this is what's really happening? Not just the battles that we feel, that we experience, but as you fight your battles, you're learning to tame your dragon. Your dragon is the lack of knowledge, your inexperience, your limiting beliefs. But once your dragon is tamed, you get access to this solid castle of your coaching business. And you get to discover your unicorn, which is your unique offering and services. And so what I want you to remember is that it may feel like one battle after another. You're also battling to find this castle of a solid business and your unicorn, which is the treasure or elixir that you bring home from your hero's journey. So what you hope to end up with is a unique self, a unique business or niche that works for you, and something that aligns with your strengths, talents, and life experiences. So remember, there's always a bigger picture as we struggle through each day. So, time for a quick breather. I would love for you to type in the chat box anything you've taken away from the session so far. And I can see we've got a few already. I haven't started my coaching business yet, but I can really relate. It's been really humbling. What else have we got here? So, what you've taken away from the session so far. Diversity is important. Yep, being diverse. We got any other comments here before I keep going? It takes a little while here. Yes, keeping busy. Thank you. Yes, being ready to adapt. It is really important to be adaptable. Okay, I'm going to keep going here. Ooh, let's see. So over the last 16 years, each new business direction has been a mini hero's journey. Each business direction has been hugely challenging and stretched me, as well as presenting its own unique challenges. And even with fierce kindness, I'm still in the stage that many of you are in, which is getting really clear on who I want to help and how, of defining my offerings and confronting my deepest fears and limiting beliefs as I try to step up and take a leadership role in the personal development world. So each and every one of us is on a hugely challenging hero's journey. So part 3, these are the 10 lessons that I have learned about growing a coaching business. Oh, I just noticed there's a few more comments here now. I love the perspective of the personal journey throughout. Thank you for the vulnerability. You're welcome. Yes, it's okay to fail, learn, and move on to something else. And absolutely, a business takes more time to build than we think. It's no blueprint. Okay. So just before I start, not every coach has all of these challenges, and some challenges will be huge for some people and small for others. So take what applies to you and leave the rest. These lessons sum up what I've learned personally over the last 16 years, but also in 11 years of running the Coaching Tools company and listening to all my audience there. Also in 3 years as co-leader for a large life coaching community of practice. And finally, 2 very intense years running the Coaches Helping Coaches Facebook group. These lessons are tough, but hopefully also uplifting, fiercely kind perhaps. I hope you'll like them. Okay, number 1 is face reality. You're not just a coach, you run a coaching business. When we start out as a coach, we are brimming with enthusiasm about coaching and going out on our own. And this is often quickly followed by overwhelm as we realize what we've got into. And that's that organization chart I showed you earlier on. There is so much to get to grips with, and you're going to be spending a lot of time learning how to run a business. And yet I see so many coaches in denial. They find the business of running a business distasteful or just too much. But the thing is here that however you might wish it otherwise, this is what you've got. Fighting the reality of the situation is only going to make you stressed and unhappy and waste an awful lot of energy and time. So the solution is to get to a place where you can face the reality, work hard, be determined, and persevere. It's about accepting that being a life coach largely usually means being an entrepreneur and all that entails. To succeed, you're probably going to have to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. And the big question for you is, are you prepared to do that? You learn to be a coach, but are you now willing to do what it takes to grow a coaching business? So type yes in the chat if this lesson resonates with you. Okay, yes. Oh, that's a big yes with exclamation mark. Yeah, it's really eye-opening, isn't it? I saw that. Claire Opalai. That's a great name. I love it. Opalai. Yes. Okay, so we've got yeses coming in there. Great. So lesson number 2. This is all about embracing sales and marketing, because by far the biggest problem that new and established coaches seem to have is not enough clients. Marketing a coaching business is harder than marketing your average small business. So there are many reasons for this, including the fact that coaching is not a necessity in people's lives. It's what we call discretionary spending. It's not like when you have a backache and you need to go to the doctor. This is about something where people can choose to do the life coaching or not. Our services also have a fairly high price point. We're asking people to invest hundreds and thousands of dollars, euros, pounds. Another reason is that coaching is not clearly understood in our world. So I have some examples of businesses where it's much easier to market ourselves. Imagine you run a jewelry business. People fall in love with beautiful things and they tend to buy on impulse, and we can also easily buy as gifts. If you run a cupcake business, I love cupcakes, the price point's super low, it's so clear what you offer, and it's yummy. A massage therapist, which is perhaps more in alignment with life coaching, will also have an easier time marketing themselves because people know what it is, it's enjoyable, and importantly, there's no commitment or work involved from the client, unlike coaching. So as coaches, we really have to understand marketing and sales. See, I think the biggest reason for the lack of clients is that coaches don't understand how to market themselves. So we don't understand what we have to offer. And we don't understand and we don't know how to make or confidently ask for a sale. So too many coaches, what happens is that too many coaches avoid what makes them uncomfortable or what they find distasteful. And so they don't do those activities that actually lead to getting clients. Sales and marketing are not dirty words. You get to choose the actions you take and the ones you don't. And you will absolutely feel uncomfortable at times. But you can choose to be uncomfortable and learn to make sales, or you can be financially uncomfortable. You get to choose. We also, and I know this is Ruby's thing here, we need to stop following shiny things and quick fix promises made by business coaches online. And we need to get to grips with the basics of marketing and sales. And then we just have to keep learning what works for us. Who do you serve? How and where do you find those people? What do you offer? What problems do you solve for your clients? And does your website and your marketing messaging make this obvious? And then how will you make connection with those potential clients and stay in touch with them so that it's you they call when they're finally ready for coaching? And we're going to come back to that in a little bit. There aren't any shortcuts. I'm not aware of any shortcuts here. This information is hard won and it takes time. So you really do need to learn everything you can about sales and marketing. There is so much free information online, on blogs alone. Read books, take a course online or in person, get a great business coach, and also visit successful coaches' websites and see what they're doing. It doesn't need to be expensive. You can learn a lot cheaply or free, but do get paid help if you need it. So I wonder if you could type yes in the chat if you think this lesson about embracing sales and marketing applies to you. You can see, yes, I was there. Yes, some capitals, yes. Awesome. Okay, some more. Great. I've learned that this year, and what an eye-opener. Okay, that's good. You've learned it. That's good. We're moving forward. So number 3 is to get yourself organized. I see so many disorganized coaches. Without systems and processes, what happens is we look unprofessional and we end up adding to our stress and our frustration. Perhaps you're wasting time recreating stuff, looking for things, and generally reinventing the wheel. And perhaps you let the important stuff become urgent and stressful. Maybe you missed deadlines for that article you said you'd write, your taxes, recording your hours, coaching hours, invoicing your clients. Maybe you're always running late, which can make you look less professional and confident in front of your clients and prospects. Whatever it is, as entrepreneurs, we already have so much to do. So anything you can do to run your business like clockwork will save you time, keep your stress levels down, and keep you looking professional. It's really important to allow time to set up and create processes and file things properly so that your business runs smoothly. Also, to automate what you can. There are quite a few things you can automate and put processes around, especially things like your finances. There are lots of appointment management and booking systems. Your client enrollment and wrap-up processes. These can't necessarily be automated, although there are online systems you can sign up for that will automatically send reminders for your clients. But you could just have a sheet of paper with the 5 things that you do when you enroll and wrap up with a client. It just saves you time and keeps you consistent and looking professional. So if you can, make time to automate and create the repeatable systems, templates, and processes for things you do over and over again. This is not exciting work, but it really helps. And just a final thought is to be prepared to improve those systems over time. So I created a 1-page checklist with what to cover in my client intake sessions once I realized that I was always forgetting something. And in the beginning, in the start of my coaching career, I would tweak that 1-page checklist pretty much after every session just to make it better until it got to a place where I had a smooth process that really worked for me. So if getting yourself organized is a lesson that you think might appeal to you or apply to you, perhaps you could type yes in the chat box. And I can see Ruby says there's nothing quite like a good template. And we've got someone that struggles here, and this is spot on. Yes, yes, smaller yes this time. Yes, love it. Oh, I love systematizing. Well, you're going to do well then, Claire. That's great. Okay. There we go. So it's not just about being organized, it's also about being focused. And these two really go hand in hand. Overwhelm is a big issue for all solopreneurs. We've covered that a lot already. So you must make the time to plan and, importantly, to prioritize. I'm sure you've all heard this: to fail to plan is to plan to fail. Now, I'll be honest, despite the fact that I'm a project manager and I love to-do lists, I still struggle with this because, oops, there we go, skipped ahead a slide. I still struggle with this because I love making lists, but when I come into the office in the morning, I don't want to sit there and prioritize and plan and look at all my goals. I just want to get doing stuff. I want to be getting on with it. So it's easy to distract ourselves and think that doing is more important than planning. But by not setting goals and prioritizing, we make it easy to procrastinate and focus on the wrong things. When we don't prioritize, what happens is we tend to avoid the difficult things, and the difficult things are often the most important things to get done. So this leads us to feeling more overwhelmed, stressed, and scattered. And then, of course, we procrastinate more and beat ourselves up. So really, it's very important, especially as coaches. We help clients set goals. We must walk our talk. We must set goals, prioritize, and make action plans regularly. So setting annual, quarterly, monthly goals for you and your business, and then making time to prioritize and action plan how you make those goals happen monthly, weekly, and daily. And if you struggle with this, I really recommend you find yourself a good business coach. Bruce Lee said, he said the average man. I'm going to change that to person. Bruce Lee said the successful warrior is the average person with laser-like focus. That could be you. So I'd love it if you type into the chat box if getting more focused and prioritizing and not procrastinating is applying to you here. So yes, into the chat box. Okay. Yes, it applies to me. Yes. Okay. There we go. Coaching is a relationships business. Our clients need to trust us before they hire us. There are obviously two key kinds of relationships we need to build here. Potential clients is one, and the other one is, in terms of getting clients, is people who have relationships with your potential clients. These are our potential referrers. Because a personal referral is still one of the best ways to get clients. But, and there is a but, it's not just about making that connection. It's also about finding a way to maintain it. Because everyone is so busy. We meet someone one day and you're forgotten the next. I lost count long ago of the number of people who said something like, I really need to hire you. But then when I followed up, nothing happened. And I'm sure this has happened to many of you. And I know sometimes it's people just being polite, but sometimes even when they mean it, there's just this huge time gap between someone saying they want to hire you and actually following through. It might be 6 months, it might be a year, 18 months, or 3 years before someone is actually ready to hire a coach. So the big question is, oh, I see Dawn nodding there. So the big question is, how do you make sure that it's you they hire when they're finally ready? Well, you do it by being the first person they think of because you stayed in touch with them. Now, I see a lot of coaches trying to build their businesses purely online on social media without really going into the world and meeting anyone in person. Now, with COVID, it does make it a little bit more challenging for sure because in person isn't really happening. And I think it can work to make connections and build our businesses online, especially with video, with webinars, YouTube, Facebook Lives. But it does take longer to build trust through a screen. I do recommend, if you can, to get out there and meet people in person. So once COVID is over, to do that. To go regularly to where your ideal clients hang out, whether it's a club, a networking group, the gym, your doctors, a volunteer organization. And then once you've made a genuine connection, be sure to have a way to maintain that connection. And I just thought it might be helpful to have a few examples here. So you could ask, once you've met someone, and you don't just go straight in there and ask, but once you've met someone and had a really good chat and they seem interested, you could ask their permission to add them to your newsletter list. I actually did this verbally with a lot of people. When we got to the swapping business card place, I would say, hey, I have this, you seem really interested. I have a monthly, at the time it was monthly newsletter. Would you like me to add you to the list? And I did. So adding them to your newsletter list, inviting them to a Facebook group that you have, telling them about your regular podcast, meeting a good referrer for a coffee or glass of wine, at least annually, running some kind of regular meetup for your target market. This could be in person or online. Sending birthdays and holiday cards to past clients and good referrers. And I have an interesting example here. I'm not really coaching anymore, but I recently had a client come back for coaching after 12 years of sending Christmas cards. She was ready for a new career after raising a child and getting it to a certain point. So she came back. Hosting a regular Facebook Live through your Facebook group or a webinar like this one, and then being active on social media, not just posting and being on broadcast, but sharing some of who you are, as well as commenting and responding to those comments with your connections. So building and maintaining relationships with clients, potential clients, referrers, and potential referrers. Typing yes in the chat box if this one you think, if you like this lesson here. Yes, a client is always a client, and it's true. Okay, it looks like I've gone ahead on the slides here, so let's keep going. Keep coaching no matter what. So many, oh, and this is Ruby as well. So Ruby, hopefully you're enjoying this morning. So many coaches struggle with imposter syndrome or feeling like a fraud. I know I did. And after months of struggling to get clients, it's easy to begin to doubt yourself. Losing confidence, however, in our coaching skills, it leads to us being nervous during our coaching sessions. And this isn't going to instill confidence in your potential clients. Simone Biles is a young Olympic gymnast and gold medalist, and she says practice creates confidence, and it's confidence that empowers you. When we keep coaching, we become a better and better coach. We learn the areas where we're good, and we learn the areas where we'd like to improve. And we also make mistakes and learn from them. Coaching is, after all, it's a craft, it's a skill set, which means we must practice and put the hours in. Not only that, through coaching as many clients as possible, we learn so much about the coaching process, the business coaching process. Things like how to get started with a new client, how to deal with payment or non-payment, which is going to come up at some point. How to change a session time, how to wrap up with a client and ask for testimonials. By keeping coaching no matter what, you keep building your skills, you build your experience, and importantly, you also learn who you like coaching and who you don't, which means that keeping on coaching also helps you find your tribe and your niche. So coach as much as you can, any way you can, whoever you can. And even if you can't get paying clients, and I know there's issues with coaching for free, but coaching people for free or cheaply allows you to build your experience, because every coaching session teaches you something and builds your confidence. So type yes in the chat box if you think you would like to find a way to do more coaching, however that ends up being. Yes, oh, we've got quite a few yeses rolling in here. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So lesson number 6, keep growing you. So this is one of the most surprising mistakes that I see. Coaching is a self-development industry. And to be authentic as coaches, we must walk our talk. If you don't grow yourself and keep learning, you're not serving your clients as well as you could. And it's as we learn about ourselves that we discover what our own unique life experience has taught us. We need to work on ourselves to overcome our limiting beliefs, not just in our business, but in life. Wrangling our inner critic is something we learn when we work on ourselves, embracing our shadow side. And as we tame our dragon, that's when we discover our unicorn, that unique elixir that we have to back to the world. And that's what I did. That's what happened with Fierce Kindness. It's as you work on your edges that you begin also to develop your own unique coaching processes, tools, and ideas. So keep growing you, journal, meditate, read personal development books, hire yourself a counselor or a life coach, and get some training. But whatever you do, keep growing. So type yes in the chat box this time if you think this lesson is important. And I'm seeing a yes, oh yes, already. Yeah. I think as life coaches, so many of us enjoy coaching and enjoy growing ourselves. But there's still a lot of people out there who are not growing themselves. And it can really help as we learn about ourselves, really help us figure out who we serve and what our unique contribution to the world is. Okay. Oh, I love that bit. Glad. Number 7, make mistakes. I see coaches agonizing over what to charge, what copy to put on the homepage, what's my niche. But if there's one big thing I personally learned, it's really all that matters much less than you think. Because you'll probably change pretty much everything several times before you're done. Now, obviously, you want to spend some time thinking about these things, but if you find that you're charging too little, you can put your rates up. And if you find you're charging too much, you can put your rates back down again. You can update your about page and make it better later. And while you obviously don't want spelling mistakes on your homepage, even that is not the end of the world. All these things can be updated and corrected. And if your niche changes because you've got clearer about who you serve, and it probably will, That is an amazing problem to have. And the same goes for getting clients. Like, be bold, be brave, try a new technique or question at the end of a sample session. And if you feel like you messed it up, or they say no, or it falls flat, you learn something. And your coaching too. Try something new, experiment with silence or using a guided meditation. Louise Hay said, every experience is a success. Mistakes are how we learn. And a year or more from now, none of this will matter. And eventually, it just becomes a good story. As coaches and entrepreneurs, we already have so much to get to grips with. There is absolutely no way you can get it right first time. If you try, you're going to waste a lot of time and create a lot of unnecessary stress for yourself. Plus, you don't get the benefit of glorious feedback and the opportunity to improve. So keep making mistakes and learning. As Nike say, just do it, but then learn, recalibrate, and try again. So type yes in the chat box if you think you might worry too much about making mistakes, or just worry too much about getting it right. Oh yes, we got lots of yeses. I love that bit, 100%. Okay. Lesson number 8. Being financially responsible. So it can take 12 months just to get your business up and running, and as much as 24 to 36 months, that's 2 to 3 years, to get that business off the ground and making enough money to get by on. That's how long it took me. And last time I did this webinar, I had an email from Karen Lukanovich. She's an Olympian and seasoned salesperson with over 25 years of experience. And what she said was, I've developed markets in different industries for startups. 3 years is usually the time it takes to build sustainable sales with a lot of hard work, and if all goes well. So when we feel, go back to the finances here, when we feel financially threatened, like we're not making enough money to live on, this adds a lot of additional stress. And when we're stressed and worried, this impacts our health, our relationships, and we make poor decisions. Not only that, but our desperation can come across in interactions with clients, which might make them hesitant to sign up with us. And when we worry about money, we are more likely to judge and blame ourselves. So this stress and pressure is not only bad for our health, it's bad for our business too. So here's the toughie. Doing work you love is not a human right. If you're not making enough money, magical thinking is not going to help you. So please be financially responsible. Keep track of your finances. And if you have to, get a part-time job, do some consulting work in a previous field, get a full-time job, and build your business on the side. This is not failure, it's self-care. Now, I know that with COVID, many of us have less income or maybe struggling financially. So this advice is intended, I admit, it's for a post-COVID world. But the lesson still applies. We need to be financially responsible. Now, I was extremely lucky that my husband supported me while I grew my first life coaching business. And then when we moved to Salt Spring Island, we had a house we could downsize from as I grew the coaching tools company. But that doesn't mean that my husband and I didn't have many coaching conversations. We had many conversations about what I was doing, where it was going, and when I might choose to do something else if it didn't work out. Please don't stick your head in the sand, because it's knowledge that empowers you to take action. Monitor your finances, and then you can take action ahead of time if you need to find another way to bring in money. Okay. So I know this is an important lesson for many of us. Okay, this is a fun one. Building a support network. Most of us work alone, and it's in this isolation that we think, I'm the only one going through this. I hope you're realizing this isn't the case. That's partly why I wanted to tell so much of my story here. It is tough to build a coaching business. And it's when we're alone that we lose our courage to do those hard things. We have no one to hold us accountable. We have no one to give us a boost when we're feeling disillusioned, or perhaps when we feel foolish when we've made a mistake, or when we feel like giving up. So I recommend that you have many layers of support. a special coaching buddy, a Facebook group, your local coaching chapter, a small business mastermind group, a business coach, and more, whatever works for you. And there are plenty of online forums and Facebook and LinkedIn groups. I started the Coaches Helping Coaches Facebook group for this very reason. I saw a need for coaches to connect and help each other. And here's something else. It's nothing beats meeting in person for on a regular basis. So if you can get a small group of people together, meet regularly, and it could be over video conferencing if you live remotely or during COVID. And if you can have a small group where you meet regularly over time, those relationships build, you share and support each other, you challenge each other, you can share your successes. You can also use that group to get accountability or encouragement to take a bigger step. Plus, if you can have a small group, it could be a mastermind group or something like that, and you can Google that. You may find someone you can do work trades with. So if you like organizing and they're good at social media, there may also be joint ventures or opportunities to work together, and they may have useful connections for you and vice versa. So much more. So making the effort to consciously build a multi-layered support network that meets all your diverse needs, super important as we are solopreneurs here. I'd love you to type yes in the chat box if this lesson appeals to you. Joint ventures are double the fun and half the workload. Yeah, we've got a few yeses here. Essential, absolutely. All right. Okay, lesson number 10. Rounding out all of these lessons is a lesson about how to be with yourself. I think probably the biggest issue that affects coaches is unrealistic expectations about how long it takes to create a successful coaching business. We covered that a little bit in the financial one with a sort of 3-year to get comfortable. No matter what, there are so many 6, 7, and 8-figure kind of like these wow coaches and internet gurus. But no matter what they say, it's likely to take much longer than you think to get your business humming along. So patience is vital. In my experience with years of project management and as a coach and business owner, pretty much everything I've done takes longer than you expect. We don't know what we don't know. So it's important to be patient. Bill Gates said, most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and they underestimate what they can do in 10. And I thoroughly agree. So if we move on to courage, I just cannot stress enough the importance of courage as we grow our businesses, to courageously hold on to and keep taking steps towards our vision. It's that castle and unicorn that we want to get to, a unique and successful and solid business that's perhaps just that little bit further than you originally thought. Remembering the hero's journey, there are many challenges to overcome and likely a dark night. And then for some reason I've put dark nights of the soul. There could be a few when we contemplate giving up. And lastly, kindness. This journey we are all on is hard on every level. How many times have I said stress and overwhelm during this session? You absolutely must learn to be kind to yourself as you take risks, make mistakes, and grow. Your critic is going to have plenty of opportunities to find fault with your coaching skills, your time management, your business management, and more. But not just any kindness. I think we really need fierce kindness, an intelligent kindness that does the right thing for ourselves and for others, not just what's easy. And fierce kindness that really takes care of us when our inner critic is having a real go at us, when we make mistakes, and is willing to stand up to our critic and help us set boundaries with ourselves and others. And importantly, a fierce kindness that really steps back and can tell the difference between when it's the right time to push ourselves that little bit harder to get something done, and when it's time to step back and say, okay, I need to rest now. So that's the last lesson, how to be patient, courageous, and fiercely kind. And the kindness is a big issue, I know. So I'd love you to type yes in the chat box if you think you might need to be kinder to yourself. I can see it. Definitely don't set me off. Yes, we've got some yeses popping in here. Okay, so you are on a very special quest. This journey is about discovering who you are and uncovering the unique business that works for you. Running your own business is hard. Running a coaching business is harder. And when it comes to coaching business success, yes, there are a few people that are just plain lucky. There are fewer people who are whizzes at marketing and they know exactly how to get clients and they make it look easy. And then there are a minuscule number of coaches who just happen to know lots of people with lots of money who want coaching. But the chances are that's not you. Not all of us will make it as an entrepreneur. And that's okay, because those people who don't make it will take their coaching skills into other areas of their lives and into the world in new ways. And our world desperately needs that. I believe coaches are heroes on a huge journey. We have to fight many battles, and you can see our little dragon smiling here. We've made friends with him. We have to tame that dragon of our fears and limiting beliefs. We have to work harder than we ever thought possible to grow ourselves, our coaching skills, and our businesses. And then that's when we get to enjoy this solid coaching business and the unicorn of our strengths and unique gifts, creating a life and business that works for us. I do believe that coaches can make a difference and make a living, but I think we need to adjust our expectations about what it takes and how long it takes. And also you may not end up with the business that you expect. I know I haven't. And remember that while you'll battle many external challenges, the biggest dragon that we all have to deal with is ourselves. So if you take just one thing away from this presentation, I'd like you to remember that whatever form your life and career eventually takes, the world needs you. The world needs people committed to helping others to get out there and do that thing. And I would love for that to be you. Okay, so as we wrap up, I'd like you to consider where it is that you need to grow. What is your growing edge in building your coaching business? And what truths do you need to face? And if you think about the 10 lessons I've shared today, maybe you're great at coaching, but you don't have enough clients because you've been avoiding asking for the sale or marketing yourself or following up with people. Maybe you've got the clients, but you're missing appointments or deadlines and constantly struggling to find paperwork. And maybe you're working really hard all the time, but you're not getting those big, important projects done, and you need to set some goals and work on your priorities first. So I'm wondering what one action you might take today as a result of this webinar. And to help you, I have created a handout. So we have a nice colorful wheel for you to complete. You're all familiar with the wheel. And I've got the 10 lessons here on this side for you. And you can grab this. Shall I put this in the chat box, Dawn? I'm going to put the link to this in the chat here. So there we go. So you can grab that there. There's also a copy of the slides if you want it. We're almost there. Okay, so it's time for your questions and comments. You can ask me anything related to my journey or growing your coaching business. Just type any questions you might have into the chat. And I'm not sure whether I hand back to you, Dawn, or anyway.
While everybody's thinking about their questions and picking your brains while we've got your dedicated time and attention, thank you. That was amazing. And I have to say, really charmingly put, Emma. You know, yes, there was a struggle, but it came across as very lovely and organic and quite natural. And we should all expect some of those bumps along the road and curveballs. So you got the message across in a really beautiful way. Thank you for that. I also
thank you.
Said about, you know, not everybody is going to be successful. Although we quite often say that the market is quite saturated, that's not actually true. Even if we just take the UK as an example, with 130,000 people calling themselves coaching, there's still 65, 66 million people in Britain. So it's not a saturated market from that point of view. But as somebody who previously mentored students, I used to ask them, what grade do you want, pass, merit, or distinction? And I realized there were a couple of people who were doing it for themselves, who just wanted to be better communicators, or just wanted to pass in order to do better at work, or communicate better with somebody that they were having difficulties with. So I think that's a really important reminder, Emma, that not everybody is going to go on and be a six-figure coach, but the world still needs coaching, because at the end of the day, at its core, coaching is just another conversation. And if we can,
I like that
quality of our conversations. In fact, there's a saying, isn't there? The quality of your life depends on the quality of your communication. And that's what gives everybody a better quality life.
Yeah.
So, questions in the chat box, please.
And I know we had one. I'm just going to go back a slide here, because I know we had a very long question from someone. I'm just going to see if there's anything useful there that we can answer. I mean, basically, we had someone who emailed us and said, basically, they've been qualified in coaching for 18 months. They have a slow but steady drip of clients through the Life Coach Directory and word of mouth, but they're also working part-time. They'd like more clients. Struggling, finding Facebook not very useful, running ads that have been a waste of money, advertising at a local holistic center and on their website, which has got them a couple clients. Interestingly, pre-COVID, had some workshops in the pipeline with a local business, linked with a nutritional therapist, sent details of the coaching program to her GP, and wondering if she needs a website or business cards. I mean, I think this is fairly common, that just not knowing, so much conflicting advice. What's interesting is I wanted to say to her, she's doing all the right things, having irons in many fires. There's these pillars, having as many pillars of marketing as we possibly can, holding up the roof of our business. So, being on social media, reaching out to people with complementary businesses like a massage therapist or a hairdresser, where they meet and talk to people and may be able to recommend you. So having these relationships, letting people know, running workshops, advertising is a challenge, using a Life Coach Directory, word of mouth. I mean, she's wondering if she's doing it right. And I would say absolutely, having as many fingers out there as possible in as many different pies. And, they'll all start throwing in the occasional client, and then you start to see what works for you. And as you coach more and more people, so that keeping on coaching thing, you're showing more and more people what coaching is, and then they'll recommend you. So it just takes time to having many different pipelines of potential clients. And if you find one's working more than others, you can focus a little bit more energy on that one, but not to put all our eggs in one basket either, to keep our options open with as many different possibilities as possible. And I did have one bit of advice, actually, because she said she had pre-COVID workshops with a local business in the pipeline. And I would recommend reaching back out to that business and offering to do it online, offering to do whatever that workshop was online as a inspirational, as a motivational thing for those people, and free if necessary, offering to do that for the local business free so that they get you in, so you're getting your message out. So let's have a look here. We got some questions now. Is it necessary to plaster ourselves all over social media? I don't think it's necessary. I think it's useful to be on social media. I mean, if you think about it, if you were going to hire a coach, what's the first thing you'd do? You'd check out their website. So yes, I think it's important to have a website. It doesn't need to have a ton of stuff on there. It needs, a homepage which connects with the person visiting the website, so that you're making clear what it is that you do to help your clients on the homepage. So they arrive and they say, oh, that looks like me. That's what I need help with. You need an about page with some details on there, and a contact page so they could contact you. And I think services and prices as well on there. So the first thing people do when they get to know you is, when they meet you, is they'll check out your website, but often they want to get to know you a little bit. So then they're going to go and check you out on social media. So if they're a professional person, they may check you out on LinkedIn. And if they're on Facebook, they'll probably check you out on Facebook too. So it depends what you mean by plaster yourself. I don't think we need to go crazy. I think we need to have a social media presence. I think it's good to post something a few times a week, once a day. You can do more if you enjoy it, but consider what other things you could be doing with that time. The other thing, of course, is you can automate your social media. There are various online systems. There's Buffer, there's Sprout, there's Hootsuite, CoSchedule, and they often have free things where you can learn to post your graphics and your little questions. You can spend like a few hours and post a whole month of things on your social media. And then all you need to do is go and pop in and see if anyone's liked or answered it. So I think it's important to have a presence, to show who you are, and use that presence to not only show who you are, but how you help your clients. So offering tips. So if you have a blog post, if you've written a blog post or an article with 10 ways to do something, you could take each of those ways and make it into a post once a week on social media. So social media is an opportunity to show who you are and what you do and how you help. But I don't think you need to go crazy. It is, if you choose, you could use social media as a way to get clients, as a funnel. I think you have to work a lot harder at it. If you're going to use social media as your avenue for getting clients, you really do need to be growing your audience, growing your reach, learning about how to grow your reach, really learning how to write copy so that you engage with people, how to copy as the words that you use, something jazzy that people are going to connect with you, you know. So you don't have to. I think it's important to have a presence, and if you want to use it to really, really get clients, I think you need to learn a lot about marketing and what it is you offer, and and learn how to communicate that in a way that your audience understands. So that's the other thing social media is good for, actually. When you have a reasonable audience, social media is a good way to do market research, to ask questions and find out what your audience is struggling with, and to, if you have an idea for 3 titles for a program you're thinking about offering, to get feedback on which one resonates most with them. So social media can also be a good market research. Okay, have we got any other questions here? And I wondered whether we should check the Q&A as well in case there's some questions in there.
For a link to the ICW, International Coaching Week, that we did in May. There's a summary and it lists quite a few speakers on the topics that you've just talked about, Emma. So writing, engaging, contact with Katie, Johnny Hates Marketing, how to create a Facebook membership site, etc. So I'm just going to look for that, and then I can put that in the chat box for you. And I think that will add some.
And another thing that, yeah, that's helpful. I think another thing that can be good to do is a Facebook group. Facebook is really pushing Facebook groups, and people want to gather, especially during COVID. People want to gather with like-minded people. They want to learn and grow. It's a lot of effort. You really need to get in there, engage, get people chatting. Once your Facebook group gets big enough, and I think by that, you know, if you have a very engaged group, a few hundred people would be enough. You might need to grow it a bit more than that, but to create a group where people share with each other. When I started doing workshops, it was a way of getting clients. I did a lot of free workshops in the beginning, and I remember I used to put a feedback form at the end of every workshop, and the feedback I got in the beginning was, we want to talk to each other more. So less talking from me. They wanted to know what their neighbors were saying, what was going on. So I started shifting my workshops to have more like, okay, here's a question, go and discuss it amongst yourselves and then report back. Not only was it easier for me to run that workshop, but they enjoyed it more. And I think that same thing applies to the groups. You know, it's not just about us having a Facebook page and putting stuff out on broadcast. In a group, we can prompt and push and suggest things and share inspirations. And then hopefully people can learn from each other. People love engaging with each other. So it does take a while. Again, don't have sort of too high expectations in the beginning. There's going to be a lot of work in the beginning to get everything moving, create a pattern that people are used to seeing. So you could have like inspirational quote Monday, like everyone's sharing their inspirational quotes. Tuesday could be share your favorite book that you're reading at the moment. Number 3 could, I don't know, you could just choose something for every day of the week. And over time, people get used to that pattern and they start engaging, and they start, if you create an engaging and interesting group and you help people with things they need help with, people want to come to your group. They want to connect with you and they want to connect with each other. Okay, so are there any other questions here? How many products are optimal for, optimal, I think, for a coaching business in order to be real, reliable, and consistent? Now, I'm not sure what you mean by products. Do you mean like a coaching program, that kind of thing, services? Maybe you could just clarify a little bit. I think it's good to have a few different options for people to choose from and a few different price points. And that's where something, actually, I think we've got an article on the sales funnel coming soon. Sales funnel is often something that turns people off, but the idea of a simple sales funnel is just that there's all these people out here, and then gradually you want to maybe offer something free that they sign up for your newsletter with. And then once they're getting your newsletter, those people are at the next level of your sales funnel, and perhaps you offer something that's cheap, at a medium, low price point. And then those people that do that and they get to know you a little bit more, and then eventually they kind of come down to the more expensive, pricey sort of premium products that you offer. So I think it's good to have different price points. Also, sometimes people like to learn maybe purely online. Maybe the first step is for people to, if creating an online course or creating an email course. It doesn't need to be video, although video is very popular these days. That's something I am learning, something I'm having to learn and do more of is video. So having a different set of products is great. You can have a free tool or product that they get when they sign up for your newsletter. I thoroughly recommend having a newsletter. In the beginning with Simplicity Life Coaching, I went out and networked. I built a list of 700 and odd people that I'd actually met networking. I'd asked them to join my list, and I sent a monthly PDF newsletter. So I'd created in Word. It was 2 sides, and I sent it out as a PDF, not even using like a newsletter service. That's when it was a little easier to do that. And once a month I'd have a theme. I had all these different elements in my newsletter, and then every once in a while I would offer something. And actually that is how I got my first kind of big chunk of clients. I got 10 to 12 clients in one go, and I created a coaching program, and I mentioned it to my newsletter list. And I also I remember I'd created the poster for it, and my mortgage advisor came over. We were redoing our mortgage, and I showed her the poster and I said, "What do you think?" And she looked at it, she said, "Sign me up." So then I sent it out to my newsletter list, and I offered a very good deal at the time. My rates were $350 a month for 3 sessions a month. And I said it was $195 if they signed up for 6 months with this coaching program. And that the reason I offered it so cheaply was I wanted testimonials. So that was the other thing. I got a testimonial from them. And it was life-changing to suddenly find the words creating this program that was a good value. And yeah, it was huge. So I can't remember why I was answering that, but I was just sort of products. So it was a coaching program, and it was called Be Yourself, Get Happy. I'm not sure I would call it these days something like that. It was a few years ago now, but the idea was it was about connecting people to themselves, and that would make you happier. So had a big sunflower on the poster, and it said Be Yourself, Get Happy. And I had these sections that we covered, topics that we were going to cover, and that was a big thing. That was when I took off. Okay. Because we didn't have any other questions here. Yeah, okay. Dawn, what do you think?
I was just going to say that I think showing your personality, somebody said, thank you for being vulnerable and being humble and sharing that. I think sharing your personality as part of your brand is very important. So if you're very into sunflowers and cutesy and color, then that becomes a massive part of your brand, and people can see immediately that you're creative, you're fun, you're approachable. So think about that as well when you're starting out with your business, the branding side. Of course, that evolves as well, but it doesn't have to be serious. You know, as coaches, we tend to be very perfectionist driven, which often means we're quite serious, and it doesn't have to be. We can lighten up and be ourselves. It doesn't matter who we trained with or what model we use. We can put our personal spin on it.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to think about who you're trying to attract as well, and what might appeal to them. Yeah. So being yourself, and you know, if you are going after, you know, accountants, you might want to have a slightly less cheery, sort of cutesy approach. But if you're, I mean, Ruby's branding is lovely. I know, because life coaches are creative. We're creative people. So Ruby's branding is very creative and fun, and it so matches her personality. Yeah, I agree. So lots of ideas, need to go and do them. And someone says, love your graphics. Oh, what's your Instagram account? I'm trying to find you. It's Coaching Tools. I think if you type in Coaching Tools, I can go back to that as well. Let me go back to that slide. Oh, now we're getting some questions. Yeah, it's interesting as well. Diversity, I think someone mentioned that earlier. We put quite a bit of effort into the slides to make sure we had lots of different diverse cartoons on there. People like the slides. So I think it's also important to know what's going on in the world a little bit as well. Yeah. Okay, so, oh, thank you. Someone's put the thing up there.
Yeah.
So I think
I was just going to say, Emma, if nobody has any more questions, the obvious question is, how do we get hold of you? And of the 3 businesses, are they all still going? So we want Coaching Tools. Can we get them? If we want to subscribe to your newsletter, can we get it? And so on.
Oh, yeah, I would love for people to subscribe for the newsletter. That would be great. I thought I'd gone back a slide here. We've gone on a slide here. I'd love for you to sign up for the newsletter. We do have a weekly newsletter, and actually we have a giveaway coming up. If anyone is familiar with Marsha Reynolds, she's doing a big training for WBEX, and we have 3 trainings with Marsha to give away. So if you sign up for the newsletter before Sunday, you'll have a chance to enter that draw and win a very valuable training with an amazing coach who I am a big fan of. So newsletter is at thecoachingtoolscompany.com. You can get coaching tools. We have a blog with over 600 articles on there. We have a lot of expert coaches, and we cover all sorts of topics. So please, we have graphics that you can share with your clients as well as for you. Lots of articles. So would love that. Our social media should be up on the slide there. We also have our Facebook group, the Coaches Helping Coaches Facebook group. If you'd like to join that, there's almost 15,000 people in that group now. So it's a very active group. But do answer the questions before you try and join, because that's how we stop all the marketers getting in. And yeah, so, and fiercekindness.com, I would love, it's still very early days. At the moment, it's just a blog and a sign up for the newsletter and get a goal setting worksheet. It's very early days, and I am still struggling, just like everyone else, with how do I pitch this? What is it? What am I really trying to do here? So please bear with me, but I'd love for you to sign up for that newsletter. I'm really exploring a different side of myself in terms of social responsibility, looking at the planet, but also being fiercely kind with ourselves and personal growth. So however you want to follow me, I would love to see you.
And that's a really interesting point, Emma, because after a struggle, you're then successful, and then you've got some financial freedom, you're wiser, and you can then really do something different that you are personally passionate about. So writing a book or writing a blog or creating a new community, you've got that freedom, you've got that knowledge, that network to actually diversify again and do something slightly different that fills you a great deal of joy, and you don't have to be worrying so much about the business. So
yeah, you have hit the nail on the head. The struggle is because the Coaching Tools Company is successful and it takes up a lot of my time, finding the time to grow Fierce Kindness, which is why I'm kind of at a stuck point of just writing articles at the moment, and I haven't got a homepage yet because it's the blog, but I am getting there and I'm passionate. And you're right, I think everything that I've done so far has led to this. my success with the coaching tools company enables me to run something for a long time where I'm not actually selling anything, you know, and really just being myself. And I love that. So yeah, it takes time. It's 10, 15, 16 years of coaching, 10, 11 years of the coaching tools company, and almost a year of fierce kindness now. And I'm still not much further along, but it is getting there. It is.
And knowing you, it will go there and deliver great things. So
in time.
It will, yeah, but that's patience, isn't it? That's the overnight success everybody will think that you've had.
But I noticed we've got a few.
Sorry,
yeah, I was going to say, great webinar. People are saying thank you. You are welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Dawn. And a huge thank you to everyone who attended and who's going to be watching this recording.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And thank you, Emma, in particular, for so charmingly putting together this inspirational webinar for us. And I'll make sure the recording goes out to all the people who have sent messages to say they registered but couldn't make it. And you can share it with your tribe as well. So lots of people will still benefit, even if they couldn't make the call today. So thank you, everybody. Keep the questions coming. You know how to contact Emma or myself at the IAPC&M. And persevere, be courageous, be patient, and enjoy the journey. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. It's your hero's journey.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, bye. Bye.